My name's Paul King. So I've been asked to give my story and involved my prostate cancer journey so far, which has been, in my case, a little bit traumatic. So to give you some history back, I mean, I didn't have any of the classic symptoms of prostate cancer. I didn't have the symptoms that people recognise as prostate cancer. But what I did have is back in November 2022, I started to have pain, this moving pain. And back in November 2022, I'd been at a party, I'd been drinking, not drinking a lot, but drinking. And I got up the next morning and I was numb on one side and I was in lots and lots of pain. And as the day went on, that pain moved. It was really odd pain. So that was the first time I had any symptoms of anything. But I put it down to the fact I've been drinking at a party, I slept badly, whatever. Now, that was fine then. And we got on to the Christmas time. And at the Christmas time, I'd flown to Ireland. It was Boxing Day. I'd shared half a bottle of wine with a neighbour. And I woke up the next day. I was numb on one side. I could hardly walk. I was in lots of pain. This pain kept moving. It was really, really odd pain. And I had no idea what the hell was going on. But again, I think I've been on a plane journey. Something's not gone right. I've sat badly. I've slept badly. And again, a few days later, the pain just went away. Now, in the January, I had a fall. I can't say the fall was connected with what's happened to me, but I had a fall and I sprained my ankle. So then, the episodes of pain I had after that, I kept associating this strange moving pain. I kept saying, well, I sprained my ankle, I'm walking badly, whatever else. In the cancer, I probably sprained my ankle because I fell because of the other issues. But I was having this enormous amount of pain. And this carries on. Now, once it got to around the March time, I am then starting to reach out to try and get some help. Now, the one thing I did have was I was actually under the respiratory service connected with MRI. I have sleep apnea. So I contacted them to say, is this connected with the sleep apnea, the treatment for that? Am I experiencing something connected with this? So I reached out to that team, and I got to say, the initial thing, because I have this little app that my MFI or T or whatever it may be. So I reached out to them, I sent them an email saying, do I need to contact my doctor? Is it connected with the sleep apnea treatment? Is there something else? But this is really odd because it's moving pain and it's acute and it's bad. And I got this message back there saying, we've rang you. And I thought, you've not rang me. So I contacted them and I said, you've not rang me. And they said, well, we sent you an email. I said, I've got no email. So I didn't get an email. I didn't get a phone call. I got no more contact from them. And I'm thinking, well, maybe this is all right then, because if it was anything serious, they would have made an effort to contact me. It must be connected with this. Let's work at it. But the pain just continued to get worse. I could hardly walk at times. It was acute. I kept making excuses why I couldn't go into work that day while I was working from home. I was avoiding things because, quite frankly, I was just in absolute acute pain. And I reached out to my doctor. Now my doctor, again, this is where the whole thing comes in. My doctor uses this app called I can't remember what it's called.
Ask My GP.
Ask My GP, absolutely, Ask My GP. And the app's only on for about 20, 30 minutes in the morning, so you've got to be there at that time when they turn the app on and record it. Well, that's the exact time I'm going to work. So to actually contact my GP, I've actually got to take time off work to do it. And of course, because the pain I was having kept moving, it was either there or it wasn't. Every time I got to say we're going to contact them, it got away, and I thought, no, I'll leave it. So there was a delay in me contacting the GP. I finally got it onto the Ask My GP, and I said, I want to see a doctor face to face. And what I actually got a few days, the phone call. And the phone call actually happened when I was stood up and I was in agony, and I couldn't even sit down. And I had this strange conversation with the doctor, said, I'll send you for tests. So I'm now waiting to find out about these tests. And I heard nothing. And I'm ringing up, I'm getting in touch with the doctors again to ask my GP, because I'm now on lots of painkillers, you can imagine. And now I have got lots of painkillers prescribed. I'm on cocodamol, I'm on naproxen, I'm struggling. So I'm on the painkillers, I wait for these tests, nothing's coming from this doctor. And I spoke to the doctor, I said, so what's happening with these tests? There's nothing on your record, I've got no idea. So I actually went in to the doctors eventually, because I said, look, I need to find this. I went to my doctors and I said, I know I rang up and I tried to get a face-to-face, but I didn't get that. You rang me up and you said they sent for tests. What's at these tests? I said, you were supposed to ring up to arrange a blood test. And I said, was I? How was I supposed to know I was supposed to ring up to arrange a blood test? Nothing comes through. There's no communication there. So I said, okay, so how do I arrange a blood test? Well, we've got nothing now for about 3 weeks. Now we're now in probably, we'll now be in around the start of May 2023. I'm in absolute excruciating pain, and I'm trying to get now these blood tests arranged. And again, I'll say June of 2023, which is, we'll get the main minute. So June 2023 is I can hardly walk. I'm struggling with pain. I'm having these pain attacks. I'm actually scaring people around me with some of the pain attacks, because I just had this sudden excruciating pain, and it so much. My hands would just go like that, and I'd drop whatever was in my hands. I must be grabbing onto something to not fall over. And I did have a few people always want to call an ambulance when they saw me have these attacks. But whatever's in my hand, it just dropped. It just went. So I'm really struggling. And this takes me to a date in the start of July 2023. Now, as I say, I've been trying. I'd had the pain. I'd had all sorts of painkillers prescribed, or whatever else I'd taken on. I'd contacted sleep service. I'd not a reply from them and presumed everything was okay. I'd tried the doctors, but then not got the thing back from them. And I had this one particular night I was just in so much. I couldn't walk. Really, a few steps was struggling. I was in absolutely excruciating pain, and I'd rang 111. Didn't call 9, they called 111, and 111 said, get yourself down to A&E immediately. And so that's what I did. I got in an Uber and I went down to MRI's A&E, and that's when it took a strange twist. So I get to MRI's A&E, and I got in fine, and I got to reception, and I checked in, and I really could hardly walk at all on this, and I'm seen by triage quite quickly, so no issue with the triage. The triage took some history off me, and I talked about the moving pain, I talked about, and I got to say, for the week before I'd gone to MRI, I was numb across the seat, I was quite numb down my left leg, I was having difficulty going to the toilet, so I hadn't lost any continence, but I was struggling to go to the toilet. And I got some nice painkillers off the triage, and I'm now put to sit out on a hard metal chair in the A&E, and I'm in absolute agony, waiting for painkillers to take effect. I'm scared. I have no idea what's going on, and I don't go to A&E. I don't do these things, and I'm really scared about what's going on. This moving pain, this losing feeling, this not being able to go to the toilet, this numbness, this all these things together. And I'm now out and I'm on a hard seat and I am distressed. And I thought, well, I want a drink, I want a coffee, and I sort of said, so, where can I get a coffee? And I was told there's a coffee machine over there. I couldn't walk over there to get the coffee. I couldn't walk over there to get the drink that was over the other side. I couldn't walk that far at that time, full stop. And it was another patient who actually, another person in A&E, who actually recognised what state I was in. And it was actually someone else in A&E who went and got me a coffee and tried to see if I was all right for a bit. And they were helpful. Other people, there was a security guard over here. I'm sat in a hard chair. I'm clearly distressed. I'm clearly struggling. And I'm just left there. And I'm left there. And I'm left there. And I've got no idea what's happening. And I'm left there. And an hour passes, and 2 hours pass, and 3 hours pass. And I've got no idea what's going on. And it's just, there was nothing to try and help me feel more comfortable. I think I was sort of up, I was down, I was up, I was down. I couldn't get comfortable. Just something would have helped, but just to tell me what was going on. So after 7 hours, finally I'm being told to go to the next bit, which is to see doctor, nurse, whatever. And I'm walking down the corridor. I think I'm holding the corridor, but I am walking a bit now. So it's been 7 hours. Some of the painkillers, I am slightly more mobile than I was when I came in, but not hugely. And I get down the corridor, and finally I'm in to see, and it was a nurse practitioner. And to me, the nurse practitioner, yes, it took some bits of history. I'd already done the history with the triage, with some bits of history. But they just seemed concerned whether or not I have something I think they called Aquinas syndrome. That was their main thing. So I'm presenting, I've got numbness across the seat, I've got numbness down one leg, I can hardly walk, I'm in excruciating pain, I'm not lost continence. He was very obsessed with I had lost continence. I haven't lost continence, but I also couldn't go. I was numb across that area, and basically all he seemed to do was to do a basic rectal examination. Said you haven't got Aquinas syndrome. Basically, go home. I'll write to your GP to ask you to see you face to face, and you might need a scan. And that was the extent of that examination. So yeah, didn't get me very far, and I'm still in lots of pain. So I leave there. I go from that part. Obviously down the corridor, and I called an Uber, and I managed to get home. Now I'm in pain. I've not slept. Of course, I've not slept for 2 nights. I think one night or 2 nights by that time. I certainly hadn't slept the time I was in A&E. I entered A&E at I think 3 a.m. but by the time I got through to 111, so this has been going on for a long time before it even got to A&E, and then it was the A&E onwards, so I hadn't slept. And so I took the decision to try and go to bed. Hopefully the pain would pass, as it had done previously. Although it'd been getting worse and worse and worse, it had finally passed previously. And so I literally went upstairs with if you want to sort of a bucket of cheese sandwich and a bar of chocolate, just and I got up to my bedroom, which was upstairs, actually using tools. I couldn't even just walk up the stairs. I was using a stick and thing, just trying to get up the stairs, to always crawl up the stairs and into bed or onto the bed, and taking more painkillers to try and whatever else. And I got on the bed, and I'm still in absolutely excruciating pain. So I'm sort of moving here and moving there, and I'm whatever. And it becomes a bit of a blur then. So it does become a bit of a delay. And I know my mother said I spoke to her 4 times in that day, and I've no recall of both speaking to my mother. So she said I spoke to her 4 times, but I've no memory of speaking to her. It was all a bit of a haze. I knew in my head that the cheese sandwich was there because I had to take food with the painkillers, and I was limited in how much cheese sandwich I ate, so I could get the next batch of painkillers later in the day. And I'd gone to bed, and at some point that afternoon, I'd tried to get up from the bed. Maybe I wanted the toilet, I can't remember, but I'd collapsed the first time. My left leg had gone. I just had no feeling in the left leg, and I'd collapsed and I was on the floor. But I managed then, on that first time, to pull myself back onto the bed. And I'm on the bed, and I'm still in lots of pain and quite delirious, I think. And sometime later, I think I'd realised that I had actually lost continence. So I'm now in a mess on the bed, and I think I tried to get off the bed, I think in essence to try and clean myself up a bit, and I think that's when I just went straight on the floor, and I may have been unconscious for a while. I'm not sure, but I was on the floor for a bit, and I realised I didn't have any feeling from the waist down. At that. So I didn't have any control at all from the waist down. And I'm pulling myself across the room and trying to get back to whatever. My mobile phone is on the other side of the room, as always. That's going to be the case when you fall. There's nobody else in my house. It's just me. And so I'm on the floor for a bit, and then I'm trying to get myself to feel a bit better to get to the thing, and then I'm pulling myself again using whatever I've got to grab onto, hold on to, pull myself across to try and get the phone. And eventually I get to the phone. Did I dial 999? No, I dialed 111. Don't ask me why, but I'm slightly out of it. 111 then brings you back later. So it's still not instant at this point. I'm on the floor. I haven't got feeling for the waist down. I mean, I've got my mobile phone. Put myself up a bit, but I'm a mess as well. And I got 111 and 111 just to call 999. So then, the first call was you could unlock my front door for me, because front door's locked. I'm in the house to myself, but I do have people who've got keys. So my first call was to get someone to unlock my door, and the second call was to 999, who were there within about an hour or an hour and a half, which, to be fair to 999, I think I'm conscious. I'm not uncomfortable at that time, although I had all the other bits. And yeah, on the ambulance, were stunning. They were fantastic. They were great. They came in. I was treated with absolute dignity and respect. They helped me to make myself more presentable. They said to me, look, we're going to take this off. You're not going to be straight in and out. We're going to pack a bag for you. You know, what do you need? They had to physically put me up in a machine and get me into a chair, and then had to physically carry me out into the ambulance. And I remember the first thing they said to me is, we're supposed to take you to MRI. And I'm going, no, please do not take me to MRI. Whatever you do not take me to MRI. I was only there earlier today. Do not take me to MRI. And they said, well, don't take it to MRI. I'm supposed to take it to Withenshaw. I said, you know, just don't take it. I said, no. For what you're presenting, it's obviously something spinal. Salford has a specialist spinal unit. We're going to call Salford and see if they'll accept you. And it was, will they accept me? You know, that was see if they'll accept you for us to bring you to Salford, because it's not in our normal area. And Salford clearly said, yeah, I mean, Salford were brilliant, to be fair. Salford clearly said yes, and the ambulance driver at Salford, and I was sort of met at the door by someone. They took me down, and I was straight into an assessment unit. Straight on to doing blood tests on me. From an assessment unit, I'm on a corridor for a short while, but again, I'm on a trolley. I've been made comfortable. I've been given painkillers that are suitable. I'm being treated with dignity and respect at Salford, and that was so important to keep me covered up, to help me to. Well, obviously, I'm still a mess. I'm just covered. Into a cubicle eventually, and I remember them saying to me, we'll need to get an MRI. We need to get the team in to do the MRI. And I didn't realise the MRIs don't work at a weekend, and they brought someone in to run the MRI. Obviously, I didn't know quite how serious all this was, and I'm not in a good state anyway. So eventually, I'm taken down and I'm put in the MRI machine, and I'm taken in that MRI machine. That's quite scary as well. They're very coffin-like, the MRI machines, with their clunking and their noise and their whatever else. And be still, and you're in there. And I was in that MRI machine for an hour. And I came out of that MRI machine to be told pretty much straight away that I've got tumours in the spine, which were almost guaranteed to be cancerous tumours on the spine. I was told I had spinal cord compression caused by tumours. I was admitted onto a ward. Of course, I still don't know what caused this. I still don't know where this has all come from, or what's happened here. So I'm on the ward, and I've just got this array of people coming to speak to me, but surgeons and medical doctors, and you can imagine how quick all this has gone. It's a terrifying process. But I'm on the ward. The surgeons have come and spoke to me, and they said, obviously, I need to go for emergency spinal decompression surgery. I don't know exactly what they said to me, but I had to go for emergency spinal surgery. And at the time, I was almost given, they said, I've no feeling below the waist, and I was told, you know, you might get feeling back, you might not. It's a high-risk surgery. You might only have a 50% chance of surviving the surgery because of where the tumours might be, or how that might work with the surgery. But in essence, I consented to surgery. It was 10.5 hours I was in the surgery for. I now have rods and pins, titanium rods and pins, are now physically holding my spine together. So they did whatever they do to decompress the spine, and that's it. I've now got these rods and pins that hold the spine together. You just say, we don't know if you're going to walk again, we don't know if you're going to be able to, what you're going to do. And I came out, I'm in critical care. And again, that's a bit of a blur because of how bad I was. So the one thing I will say about critical care is the one nice memory from critical care in a strange way is I'm lying in bed and I'm quite helpless. I can't do very much. What I can do is listen. And I can listen to all the different accents of all the different people working around critical care. And you hear the Australian, you hear the American, you hear the person from the West Indies somewhere, you hear the person from somewhere in Africa, and you realise all these people, obviously, in the UK and Scotland or whatever, but you hear all these accents, all these people really working hard, dedicated to try and support people in NHS. And to me, that was lovely. When it sounds daft, you've got to pick up something when you're in critical care, but that was lovely. And I've got to say that the support I had in critical care was great. I was terrified in there, but the support I had was great. And it was there that the people of the palliative care team came out to meet with me and basically said, well, the first visit was, we don't know what sort of cancer you got, but you have got cancer. It has gone on your spine. In my case, at the time, they said we can see the tumours on your spine. I think it's spine, lungs, behind the lung, adrenal gland, and liver was where they could detect tumours, or nodules, or tumours, or you call what you want, but they detected things that were on the spine that were causing the problem. But it was a palliative care team who came out to see me, and I kind of wanted to really realize what the palliative care team meant. I don't think at the time, I do now, but I don't think I realised at the time. And they'd done a biopsy. They were going to check to see what it was that were causing it, and it's still a bit of a blur when they came back. It was a few days later when they come back. Well, they came back a few days later and said your PSA level was 600 or something like that. It was in the high hundreds. So they said it's inevitably going to be prostate cancer caused it, but we need to do the biopsy to confirm that. Obviously, it metastasised from somewhere. These were metastases. Metastasised from somewhere which they expected to be the prostate. And several days later, it did come back that it was the prostate. So I'm now in hospital. I've had the spinal surgery. I'm starting to get a bit of feeling below the waist. Initially, not a lot. So I'm catheterised. I'm helpless. I'm lying in bed. But Salford NHS were brilliant with me. They were really good from entering Salford all the way through critical care. The 3 levels. I didn't realise there was 3 levels of critical care, but I went through all 3 levels of critical care before going on to the spinal rehab ward, and I was in Salford Royal for just under 8 weeks in total, from entering to leaving, with going from being on the ward and catheterised and helpless. I could move the right foot, and I could move a toe on my left leg, and slowly trying to get some movement again, trying to teach me to walk again, try and teach me to do other things, because not everything works below the waist. I'm more mobile, everything was working. So teach me how to use catheters, so intermittent catheters, teach me how to manage my bowel, and get to be on a pair of crutches and everything else. But it's been quite a journey from where I was then to where I am now. I think since, obviously, it is cancer, it is metastatic prostate cancer with what was spinal cord compression. Prognosis is not great. Certainly I was told without treatment I certainly wouldn't survive more than a year, but with treatment I might have, well, initially it was with treatment you might get 2 or 3 years, but we're going to try something more experimental on you if you're happy for that, and that might give you another year. So my current prognosis is probably 3 to 4 years. But with radiotherapy, with chemotherapy, my hair's dropped out. It has now come back, but I quite like the hat, so I'm keeping the hats. My nails came out; they're growing back. I'm getting more mobile. I'm not greatly mobile, but I'm getting more mobile, and I've had some good support from that. But ultimately, still, it is, for me, a terminal illness. Men are terrified about the idea of prostate cancer. And again, one thing I think men are terrified at, because it's out there, is the way they check for prostate cancer is a rectal examination. Yeah. And men have got this real hang-up about anyone going anywhere near their genitalia. I think male or female, I think they've got this thing. But actually, the first point, part of the prostate cancer check is a blood test. It's the PSA level that's going to indicate whether more examination is needed. If you haven't got any other classic symptoms, it's that PSA test, the first thing. And actually, I've got to say, having had lots of fingers in those places now, don't worry about it. I'm not going to say, look, you know what? It's certainly not the worst thing in the world by a long way. The men's perception is not. The men's perception is actually you're going to go in and someone's going to go with a rubber glove. And it's a health check. Yeah. And it needs to be a standard health check. Like when I don't go see my doctor. I don't go to A&E. I don't do medical things. It should be made easy to go and see a doctor for a start. They ask my GP app that turns off after whatever time, just makes it complicated. I actually asked my GP, I actually asked the receptionist, so I said, so the likes of my father at the time, or my mother, this a few years ago, they first started to use this app. I said, who don't use mobile phones in that way, who don't use smartphones, who don't know how to do this, how would they do the Ask My GP? And the answer I got was, well, they can come into the reception, we'll do it on their behalf on our smartphone. That's what I was told a few years ago. That was a few years ago. I'm thinking that changed. But yeah, so in terms of prostate cancer, I will say that, I'm a man, I'm 54 years old. And before I was 50, because my father had diabetes, I was already going for the yearly blood tests and health checks. So I haven't got diabetes, but I was going for those checks. And when I hit 50, I knew about prostate cancer. I knew that was there. And I actually believed that once you hit 50, you were automatically being tested for prostate cancer as well. I automatically believed that those blood tests I was having taken every year from the age of 50 would include that check. I had no reason to not believe it included that check. I'd seen the news, I'd seen the bits and pieces. Man who's hit 50, we need you to check for prostate cancer. And I presumed that well-man check I was getting from my GP from the age of 50 onwards would include that test for prostate cancer. I had no reason to not believe that was the case. It was a complete surprise when I found out, A, that it didn't do. Even during all the process where I've been to my doctor and said I'm in pain and whatever else, and they've done blood tests, they didn't check for that. They didn't check for PSA levels. They never requested a PSA check. How was I supposed to know that I was supposed to go to my doctor and say, please can you check me for prostate cancer? Please can you check my PSA? I didn't even know what PSA level was. I've never heard the term PSA level before. And now I'm being told, well, they don't like to do it in case the false negative. Well, it's better to do a false negative and live than not get you positive. So, I would just say that if my doctor had done that PSA check on that well-man appointment from the age of 50, This may have got picked up a lot earlier. I do not know how long I've had prostate cancer for. I do not know how long it's taken for that prostate cancer to metastasize. I do know I had no symptoms of prostate cancer as such. I had symptoms of the metastasis from the prostate cancer. But I had no idea how long that process had been going on for. But considerable amount of time before cancer metastasizes, it could have been picked up. It could have been picked up on those annual checks. I might not have had it metastasize. I could be in that position now. It's being monitored, where it's being checked. As it happens now, I haven't got that. I'm in a very nasty position where A, I'm terminally ill. I'm on medication that really is not very nice. For people that don't know, the hormone treatment I'm on is really quite nasty. It stops you being a man, in essence. It takes away all your testosterone level. It changes your body shape. This is not my normal body shape. It's made me put on the same weight. It's made me lack energy. It's made me do many things. But these things could have been detected earlier, and it could have made a difference. I might not be on a pair of crutches right now. I might not be as immobile as I am. I might not have these rods and pins in my spine if this had been picked up earlier. My prognosis is not that long. My prognosis has been a lot longer if this had been picked up earlier. So I certainly would urge anyone to make sure that they ask about a test, to get a test, to do whatever is necessary to do that test. I think it should be automatic that test is done from the age of 50 at the doctors. I don't know why it's not being, but certainly I think men need to know to ask to get that test. I think the A&E departments should automatically be testing for PSA levels when they're doing those blood tests at the hospital. So what if there's false negatives? So what if it might scare someone for a bit? I'd rather someone had a false negative and they were told, actually, you're okay, than they slipped through the net. So when I just urge any man to get a test, they say 50 plus. Obviously, hopefully, if A&E started to do blood tests on PSA levels earlier, it might get younger men as well. But, certainly from a doctor's perspective, well-man test 50 should include a PSA test as standard. And I think men should campaign and pester and remind their doctors to get that PSA test until that's a standard thing. Because you don't want to be like me. You don't want to have what I've got. You don't want to be, as I am now. I've gone from being a working man to now being medically retired with a short prognosis. You don't want that. So please get the PSA test. Just get the PSA test.